Hello friends, in this session we are going to discuss about the Java fundamentals and the remaining members of the class. The first two sessions we had discussed about the instance variables and the methods. The other remaining member was constructors. So we will discuss about the constructors. Constructors are special methods which doesn't have any return type and will be invoked only once during the creation of an object. You will not be able to invoke the constructor each and every time whenever you require, like how you were able to invoke the method a number of times. Constructors will be, you will be able to invoke the constructor only once during the creation of an object. When did you create an object? Whenever we use the keyword called as new, right? So let us see how to work with the constructors. It's very simple. It's a special method, that's it. It doesn't have any return type. The name of the method is same as the name of the class, then it becomes a constructor. So let us see how the constructor looks. Okay, we have a class called as box. That's what we discussed in the previous program. It has int w, int h, int d. It had one method which used to calculate the volume. We had one more method, we'll discuss about that in next, which was returning w into h into d. Okay, we had one more method called as fun, which used to take the parameters. What I used to do is I used to create an object and then pass the values for that. Instead of that, during the creation of an object itself, I will be able to pass. For what I will do is I need to bring in the constructor. How will I bring in the constructor? Just specify like this. Okay, but for now I will be having a parameterized constructor, so I will be specifying it as int a comma int b comma int c. So now w is equal to a, w is equal to a, h is equal to b, d is equal to c. So this is one perfect class what we have designed. Okay, now how will I work with this class? Pretty simple. I need to go ahead and create an object of this. Box b is equal to new box. Right now I will not be able to specify like this because there is already a constructor provided by me here. If you see here, there is a constructor provided by me here. So what I need to do is I need to pass the respective arguments. We have discussed. If not, just understand here, Java is a case sensitive language and a strictly type check language. Type check language in the sense what parameters you pass and what arguments you pass and what parameters it is going to be received should be matching to each other. Okay, so now we will go ahead and pass the arguments for this. Let me pass the arguments as 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now we will be invoking the volume method. So what has happened here, we are able to get the volume in only 2 steps. Previously we used to pass the values to the instance variables, then calculate the volume individually. Then when we brought in the method, the steps was reduced by invoking the method. But right now what has happened is, during the creation of the object itself, I am initializing the values inside the object. So here what happens is, when the memory gets allocated, What is the memory which gets allocated? W, H and D. During the creation of the object itself, the values will be updated. Default values will not be assigned during the creation of an object. Why do I want to assign the default value and then update the value? Instead of it, during the creation of an object itself, I will be initializing the values of the instance variable. There will be some requirements in the further classes you will be able to understand. But now, whenever the object is been created, if I want to initialize it, I can go ahead with the constructor. And if you observe here, the constructor will not be having any return type. Just observe here, there is no return type. There is no return type here. So, and the name of the constructor should be same as the name of the class. If it is different, then it is not treated as a constructor. If I have a return type for this, right, if I go ahead and specify it as, void, if I go ahead and specify this as void, 1 minute guys, if I go ahead and specify this as void, this becomes a method. So now once I brought in the constructor, what I can do is I can go ahead and also create one more object. But how will I create? I can't go ahead and update it, right? I can have to create one more object, 1 comma 2 comma 3. So what happens is this gets updated. Now the respective volume we can print it, but so this should be B1, this should be B1. So and but now what has happened, one more memory, but in this memory the values will be 1, 2 and 3. Some volume method would be available so that I will be able to invoke it. So constructors are very simple. It's nothing but just a special method. It doesn't have any return type. That's it about the constructor. We will see the executions of the constructor. Now we already have the instance variable. Instead of this particular method, I will go ahead and make this as box as the constructor. Now when I do this, immediately if you see, it says you will not be able to you will not be able to invoke a constructor without any arguments, because already I have specified a constructor. So what I need to do is 4 comma 5 comma 6, I will be specifying it, and no need of invoking the fun method. Anyway, it's not available also. I will go ahead and delete this. B dot volume, I will be able to invoke it. So let us try to print this. What has happened here is, if you observe in the console, one object has been created and some value has been printed because of this. Now if I want to calculate the different volume, what I need to do is, either I can go ahead and update this same variable with different address, box, new box will always create a new memory location. Just for your confirmation, always try to print the object itself. If you try to print the object, see, this is a different address assigned to the same variable. Right now, earlier it was assigned to a different way. Earlier this variable was pointing to some address. Right now this B variable is pointing to a different address, but the value is different. If you remember the previous session and all, we used to basically write out the code something like this, right? Box B is equal to new box. We used to write the code like this. What I can say is, this is a constructor with 3 parameters. This is a constructor with 0 arguments. But where where was this constructor? Earlier did I had any constructor? No, right? So what happens is, in the .class file, whenever the compilation happens, compiler is going to look out for the default constructor. If it is not available, it is going to insert a default constructor. That is how the earlier code box b is equal to new box was working. Although we didn't have any constructor, a default constructor would have been created. If there is a class called as box, this would be the default constructor. The default constructor would look something like this. So the default constructor would have been inserted into the .class file, and this line of code would have been executed. If there is already a constructor specified by the developer, then the default constructor will not be inserted into the .class file. We need to explicitly invoke the .class file, explicitly invoke the default constructor whatever specified by the developer. Okay, clear with this, right? Okay, thank you guys for watching this video. If you like this video, or if you have any comments for me, please leave the comments, and please do subscribe for the channel Open Lambda. Thank you for your support. Thanks a lot.